Greetings, everyone. Well, it's Truth Tuesday. So I wanted to pop on here. I don't have my camera enabled, but hopefully you can hear my voice. My microphone is on. I am really looking forward to talking about some of the biggest learning lessons, whether or not you've already started your business, you are thinking about starting your business, or you are in a corporate sales role. It doesn't really matter exactly. Like I said, if you are, leading your own company as a founder, as a CEO, or if you are working in sales as, in a leadership role uh, in corporate. The lessons that we learn along the way are our biggest truths and our absolute biggest guideposts. One of the biggest truths that I learned when I was first building, well, I was going to say when I was first building my coaching business, but I would say that it even went back to when I was working for AT&T as a sales representative and then in sales leadership. There I I remember taking, taking everything literally. And I hope that makes sense to you, but if someone said they were interested, like of course, we AT&T trained us how to be sales people and how to be, sales leaders. So if it wasn't for AT&T, I'm quite sure that I wouldn't have been able to have a successful career in sales and be able to, lead people and start a business and all of those things because, it was the skills were so valuable. But, getting back to what I was saying, we have to we have to somehow find the balance, okay, between, taking everything that someone says, that people say literally, and the balance between that and taking it with a grain of salt. Now, I know that's a vast area, right? In between, okay, well, if this person says that they will be ready to make a decision in 3 days, or if this person says they won't be ready to proceed for 90 days, uh, you know, we can't take everything literally. And that was one of the biggest learning lessons. I thought that if, what people said, that it was always the truth. Now, this is not about, pointing fingers or saying that they're saying things that they don't do, or they're saying things that they don't mean. They being people you're doing business with or prospects, okay? It's not about the finger pointing, or it's not about judging per se, but I can tell you that when I looked back and I was able to identify, like when I took things literally, I kind of want to say like I waited. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but some of you it will make sense. And that's why I say we have to find the balance. What feels right to you between the, taking everything literally, like, okay, if they said that they're going to be ready to make a decision in 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months versus taking everything with a grain of salt. So the main thing is that you need to know that until the agreement is signed, until you have finalized that working arrangement, I like to work off of the SOWs or statements of work, because in there we can clearly put deliverables, and it can still have, it has space, it has legal language. Some people I know like to work off of memorandums of understanding. You can do however you wish to, ink that agreement, so to speak, but it's not done until you have an actual working agreement. So even if it's verbal, you can't really bet on that. I mean, the money is probably not in the bank. And I know that might sound so superficial, but I really want to help those people out there that were like me and thinking that if someone said, okay, well, call me back, or uh, message me in 3 days and we'll jump on a Zoom, or, meet me here in 3 weeks, and, and we'll get everything finalized. It doesn't, you cannot, you can project it. Okay. If you have the confidence to know, like if you're thinking that it's going to close in, you know, in the next 10 days, absolutely. You need to forecast it. You need to keep it in your pipeline. But this may sound harsh, but, and especially for the newer people, but it's not done until it's done. Okay. I know that sounds simple and redundant, but we cannot take everybody's word for face value. And again, this is not about thinking, that people don't do what they say, or, you know, uh, people aren't telling me the truth. It's not, that's not the way that I'd like you to look at this. I would just like you to understand that things don't always work out exactly like people may want them to. And, this is not a discussion point for today, because this is certainly another truth that we can explore. But if there are multiple people involved in the decision, that's a whole deeper conversation. And the sooner that you find out, like I recommend finding out who's going to be involved in the decision right after, like even during the initial discussion. That's not too soon. It's not too soon to learn, obviously be mindful of the number of questions, and don't seem like you're drilling them, but you know definitely asking them questions about who else besides them are involved in the decision making process. you know what's most important to them, trying to get super clear as far as where they are and where do they want to be. And it is about them. It is about their challenges, their pain points at the moment. And this will be another discussion. But I remember early on when I started in coaching, I, as a coach, not, this was just something that I noticed, and I had great training from an executive coaching from the Center for Executive Coaching, which helped me to really tap in and develop my skills. But you know, we we can see things from the outside looking in as the objective viewpoint, right? So one of the mistakes I made was identifying a roadblock, or identifying a particular constraint that, of course, the prospect agreed that that was a constraint, but it it was something that I identified and I would ask about. And in this particular example, I'm thinking about the prospect agreed, but it wasn't the most important to him. And because I felt so passionate about it, again, this was maybe just me being blindsided. I thought I was pretty much setting his priorities, getting some buy-in, but not allowing him to set the priorities. And that was a big mistake. Because in that particular case, you know, we didn't have the joint goals. It was more like he was depending on me. It wasn't like he was he was depending on me to actually set the goals. Well, here's the problem with that. Even if I set the goals, he has to buy into those, not just 80%, but 100%. And then he actually has to take action related to those goals. Even though I would be doing a lot, according to our agreement, there were still action steps that he needed to take. And big thing too is, people are going to really give it their all if they're 110% committed to that. It didn't matter what I saw. And even though he said, okay, well, yes, if you think I should work on that, then that's what I'll do. I was missing an important step because he wasn't, he was committed to making his business better, but he wasn't 110% like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Yes, these are the goals. These are the challenges that I'd like to work on. Those kinds of things, I probably didn't ask the right questions, and I probably didn't isolate enough. So make sure that the top of mind challenges come out of the prospect's mouth, and it's documented. So when I open my laser coaching sessions, one of the biggest things that is discussed during the launch call is, would there be something standing in your way, Mr. Smith, from accomplishing those goals? Super important that you ask those difficult, maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable questions, because you're pretty much, putting it all out there and asking, would there be any reason why you could not accomplish those goals? So I really, there are three main questions when I'm launching a laser coaching client, which of course is different than, it's one-on-one, but it's a different format because of the fact that action steps need to be taken. whether it's through, because I have a few different coaching platforms that I work off of. So it would either be through like a very structured curriculum, or it would be through looking at a roadmap and making sure that we follow all of those steps. I mean, that's what I guide my clients through. Now, it's super, super important that we stay on track. And, you know, if we don't have a roadmap or we don't have a curriculum, then chances are we're going to get off track. But back to what I was saying, the client needs to be 110% committed to doing whatever it takes. So, like when I use that example, as far as, um, buying into the goals, like, question number one: how many clients would you like to enroll for your laser coaching? That would be the question. The second question would be, when would you like to enroll these clients by? And we're very specific on getting a date. A date. It's not going to be, well, I think in a couple weeks or a couple months. No, it has to be a date. The example would be Wednesday, April 3rd, Wednesday, April 10th. As specific as we can get. And I like to use the framework, and you should try this with your prospects. When would they like to launch? Well, let's back up here. Get it in the framework that they would like to launch no later than. Because in most cases, especially in this particular model of coaching, people sometimes launch in a matter of 4 days, even when they have funnels and email campaigns. Or you can keep it simple and you don't have to do any of that at the moment. But this is not a complicated process. Now, it can get complicated if you allow it, but you could hypothetically launch and get your first round of clients in as little as 4 days. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there that could do it sooner, especially if they've already had a head start. But the thing is that your clients have to buy into what it is you're asking them to do. And it has to be like 100%, 110%. It's great that they trust you. And it's great that they ask you, what do you think I should work on? But at the end of the day, they're not going to work on anything that they really don't believe in. If they think something else is more important, or if they're not committed to what you've recommended, it's not going to go very far. And I want you to know that, like I said, especially for the newer sales people or the newer coaches, chances are it's not going to go very far unless you have their 110% buy-in. Because, and if you're wondering, why do I say that? Well, first of all, getting back to what we were talking about, the reality, the truth is that people don't always do what they say. They may have the best intentions, but if things are preventing them, or let's say there are multiple people involved in the decision, we must be aware of that. So if you are in a sales role or looking to enroll clients, make sure you ask early on. This could be even the first discussion. Who else besides yourself is involved in the decision? And, in some cases, the person you're talking with isn't even the decision maker, but they could be a connector. So you need to get that all clarified, because That was a big learning lesson. One of the biggest truths that I recognized, as soon as I recognized that truth and I was committed to working on that, my results changed. I was able to 2, 3, 4 times my results because I realized that, that was one of my constraints. My constraint was I was taking everything literally. I was taking everything like face value, right? I was thinking, well, yes, if they said that they're ready to make a decision in 3 weeks, well, then they're making a decision in 3 weeks. That's not always true. Doesn't mean that you have to be negative about it and think that, oh, people don't do what they say. No, not all people. Some people do what they say, but there are also a lot of individuals that may be dependent because of their corporate structure, whatever the case is, on other people's input, on other people's decisions. So we have to honor that. So don't wait. Don't wait around. Don't think, oh, yeah, I can't wait till this deal closes. I can't tell you how much I hear this. If you don't have enough in your pipeline, you will not get the results you're seeking. I know that sounds like sales 101, and that pretty much is sales 101. However, you need to fill your pipeline because of all the things that I was talking about. Like I said, this was one of my all-time greatest truths, was realizing I should not take everything for face value, and I should not wait around for these people. Because if I'm waiting around for those people, and then those deals don't close, then I'm missing opportunities, overlooking them, or just missing them altogether. So I want you to be successful, and as successful as you possibly want to be. And I want you to get the optimal results. So if you are newer to sales or you're a newer coach, make sure you're asking who else. Well, you could just start by saying who's involved in the decision making process. And then, you know, don't just have one discussion, but a couple discussions, even if they're with DMs, would be great to really identify their pain points and prioritize them. Like, get that prioritized so that you know what's most important to them. And I'm a huge believer in bridging the gap between all of the decision makers. That doesn't mean meddling between them, but it just means bridging that gap. And even if you have two decision makers, I would highly recommend that you are able to spend one-on-one time, some degree or another, with both of them. Maybe it's a spotlight interview for one of the co-founders, and then another spotlight interview for the other co-founder, whatever the case is. But as you're building that connection in that relationship, it's super important that you are able to identify the challenges and the decision-making criteria that all of the people involved in the decision have. Because you are at the core of that, right? If you are selling your services, or if you're a founder representing a company, whatever the case is, you are it. A sales representative, you are it. So, should you have group meetings? Absolutely. And what I mean by group meetings is like a group client consult. Whoever's involved in the decision should be coming. That should not be put off. That should be, a required, a required action. So I hope that helps. Make sure you ask. and I know I've said this probably the fifth time today, but make sure you ask, what are their most pressing challenges at the moment? What are their top of mind challenges? And then also ask, tell me about the priorities of those. And if you could solve that top of mind challenge, what would that do for them? How would that make them feel? How would they celebrate? These are questions you should try. So I hope this was helpful. Please, please, please post your truths. Maybe a few of the stories that I told got you thinking. So please post your truths. Or if you don't feel like posting them, send me a DM. Or if you don't feel like doing that, just identify them on your own. Because this is for you. This is to help you grow. This is to help you really get clear on what your truths are, your biggest learning lessons, so that you can move further faster. Let me know your thoughts. I hope this was an enjoyable Truth Tuesday. I'm telling you, biggest learning lessons coming from us slowing ourselves down, asking ourselves some of those questions. And then from those learning lessons, how can we capitalize on those so we can get to where we want to be faster? Let me know, my happy people. I love this community. I just can't say enough about the relationships that I've built on here, the messages I've received. I send out a lot of messages too, because I really want people to know how much I appreciate them. And I just recently went over 30,000 followers, which I'm super excited about. And I want to do something to recognize all of you, everyone that has been so supportive of my Truth Tuesday shows, my Whatever It Takes Wednesday. I really appreciate all of you. So have a wonderful, blessed evening. Or if you're in our future, have a wonderful, blessed Wednesday. And I will look forward to speaking to everyone soon.